Hey guys, I'm Selena. Do you want to know why this video is black and white? Don't worry, your screen isn't broken. That's just the way my parents saw me, as a boring and unremarkable girl. I actually look like this. Voila! It's like I fell into a bucket of paint, right? The story I'm about to tell you is full of colors. After all, I learned to draw before I could even talk, and I'd always dreamed of becoming an artist and creating comics. Before I continue, please press that like button. Thanks! My parents often acted like boring adults. Hold on. They were boring adults. They never laughed or approved of my creative hobbies. All the colors in our house except brown and gray were banned. Boo. One day when I was 6, I took crayons and painted the walls in my bedroom. My parents went ballistic. Selena, did a unicorn throw up in here? Wash that off right this second. I couldn't express myself through my looks either. Mom and Dad bought me such nondescript and formal clothes. I looked like one of the grannies in our neighborhood. The day I turned 9, my parents told me that I would soon become an older sister. Yay! I started jumping for joy like a possessed rabbit. However, Mom and Dad told me to calm down again. Dial it down! Are you trying to break the floor? Something is seriously wrong with our child. When Charlotte was born, I was in for another disappointment. My parents had never spent much time with me to begin with, but after that, they seemed to have completely forgotten about my existence. All their affection was reserved for my younger sister. I didn't really mind. After all, I knew that the baby needed them more. I adored Charlotte. I'll always be there for you. Hurry and grow up so we can play together. Little had changed in our lives over the years. Charlotte stayed our parents' favorite, and I still wasn't allowed to wear any fashionable clothes. However, I didn't give up. I watched anime, played Genshin Impact, and I drew a comic called The Girl from the Rainbow. As you might have already guessed, the main character of my comic was very similar to me. My classmate Eric served as inspiration for the Prince of Elves the heroine was in love with. Look at that cutie. I had been pining for Eric since elementary school. However, I wasn't ever going to confess. His family was rich, and he was one of the most popular guys at school. Meanwhile, thanks to my parents, I was the plainest girl ever. He was way out of my league. One day, I was about to go to a festival of contemporary artists. I really wanted to get an autograph from my favorite comic book author, Gabriella X. She had always inspired me. I knew everything about her and felt a kindred spirit in her. However, before I could leave the house, my parents stopped me. They said they had to leave for a few hours, and they told me to watch over Charlotte. Damn it! The festival was only going to last one day. That was my only chance to meet Gabriella. I had to think of a solution, so I took my sister with me. Let's go on an adventure. However, you can't tell our parents about it. I'll draw you a dolphin as a thank you, okay?
I love dolphins!
We had a great time at the festival. We ate a ton of ice cream and took a bunch of cool selfies. And most importantly, I met my favorite artist. Gabriella X was just as amazing as I'd imagined. She was fun, had colorful hair, and wore bright clothes. I showed her photos of my work, and Gabriella liked them. You're quite talented, Selena. Here's my number. Let's work together sometime. We had to come back home before our parents could suspect anything. On the way home, Charlotte and I were suddenly caught in heavy rain. My sister and I got soaked through. The worst thing was that Mom and Dad had come back before us. They were furious when they found out I disobeyed their instructions. Selena, you're terribly irresponsible. We just went on a walk. What's wrong with that? They didn't listen to me, and they sent me to my room. I didn't get why they were being so dramatic. However, that night, Charlotte fell ill. She had a fever, and our parents immediately took her to a doctor. He said that my sister had a bad cold and would have to spend some time in the hospital. My parents looked at me like I was the biggest disappointment of their lives. After all, Charlotte had gotten sick because of me. I felt so guilty. I really wanted to hug my sister, but Mom and Dad forbade me from visiting her. Stay away from your sister! I felt terribly guilty, and I had no one to talk to. One day, I was coming back from school when my legs suddenly gave way. I sat down on the curb and I burst into tears. To my surprise, someone came up to me. Hey, don't cry. You have such beautiful eyes. It was Eric. He hugged me and asked me what was wrong. I had been waiting for someone to ask me that for so long. I told him about everything that bothered me. Everything! I even admitted that I had liked Eric for a long time and I drew him in my comics. Wow, I wasn't expecting this. Will you let me read them? It was too late to stop now. I took my comic book out of my backpack and handed it to Eric. He flipped through it enthusiastically.
Wow.
I had no idea you were so talented. I mean, sorry, that's rude, but you don't normally stand out. I know, my parents want me to dress like an old lady. That's not fair. You should have the right to express yourself. I've got an idea. Eric brought me to a beauty salon and suggested I choose a bright color for my hair. Which one do you like best? Green? Blue? Red? It's so expensive. I don't have that kind of money. I'll pay for everything. Consider it a gift. You're a brilliant girl and you should look the part. His words inspired me. I thought about my favorite artist and I plucked up the courage to go for it. I want my hair to look like a rainbow. A few hours later, ta-da! Do you like my new look? I was so grateful to Eric. After all, I had been miserable lately. Finally, something good happened to me. We went shopping and I bought some new clothes. At parting, he asked me if he could take my comic with him to read it. I couldn't bring myself to tell him no. Could we become a couple? Ooh la la! Of course, at home, my parents threw a fit when they saw I dyed my hair. You look like a unicorn burp, I know. But you know what? I like it. No, you will dye it back or you will no longer be our daughter. And stop doodling already. Your comics are nothing but trouble. At that moment, I noticed Charlotte in the hallway. Had she finally been discharged? I wanted to hug my sister, but my parents wouldn't let me near her. We told you to stay away from Charlotte. On top of everything, they suddenly said that they were sending my sister to a special camp so she could swim with dolphins and recover. Since it's all your fault, Selena, we decided it would be fair to pay for it with your college money. I couldn't stand it any longer and I ran to my room. I felt so unwanted. I hoped Eric would cheer me up at school, but things only got worse. For some reason, when I came to school the next day, all of my classmates were pointing their fingers at me and giggling nastily. Oh, look, it's that girl that fell off a rainbow.
This weirdo has a crush on Eric. He told me she doesn't stand a chance with him.
That's when I noticed that everyone was reading my comic book. Had Eric given it to our classmates so everyone would laugh at me? But he'd seemed so sweet. His betrayal was the last straw for me. I could no longer put up with my parents' disdain or my classmates' behavior. I remembered Gabriella's biography. No one had believed in her either. When she was my age, she ran away from home and achieved success despite everyone. I decided I would do the same. While my parents were driving Charlotte to camp, I left a note with a dolphin in my sister's room, packed my things, and left. I wandered the streets for a long time, trying to figure out what to do. My stomach was rumbling, and I decided that first I had to find a part-time job to buy food. That's when I remembered I had Gabriella's number. Ding, ding, ding! I called her and I asked if she had any work for me. The artist gave me the address of her studio, and I headed there. But first, I turned off my phone so my parents wouldn't be able to find me. Soon, I was there. I was just about to walk into the studio when the door opened and a gloomy girl ran into me. Get out of the way! Didn't you see me coming? There's no need to be so rude, Miss Hulk. You look like a magic pony. I'm not about to listen to anything you say. With those words, the girl stomped away. What a rude stinker. There was a certain creative chaos in Gabriella's studio. The artist herself was sitting dejectedly on the floor among a pile of crumpled drafts. Selena, there you are! I like your new look. We chatted for a while and she sadly admitted that she'd had an artistic crisis. I have no ideas for my new comic. That was easy to fix. I had a ton of ideas. I told her about them and she threw her arms around me. Selena, you're a lifesaver. That's brilliant. You should become my co-author. Of course, I agreed. We decided that I would come to the studio the next morning and we would get to work. In the meantime, I needed to find a place to spend the night. I wanted to get a hotel room, but it turned out that I couldn't afford it. I only had enough money to buy a donut for dinner. I ate it and decided to spend the night on a bench. However, it was dark and cold in the park. Ugh. I tried to fall asleep, but then someone patted me on the shoulder. I yelped in surprise. To my relief, it was only Gabriella. Selena, what are you doing here? I had no choice but to admit that I'd fought with my parents and run away from home. I thought she would start lecturing me, but to my surprise, she just smiled warmly. When I was your age, I rebelled against my serious parents, too. They didn't understand me and forbade me from drawing, so I get it. But sleeping on the streets is dangerous. You can stay at my place until you make up with your family.
I couldn't believe I'd got so lucky.
However, when we came to Gabriella's home, I saw that mean girl from the studio. What's this rainbow princess doing here?
Don't be rude. This is my student Selena. She's gonna be staying with us for a while. The girl's name was Nadine.
I was really surprised when I found out that she was Gabriella's daughter. Can you believe it? They were complete opposites of each other. Nadine didn't want me there and made no effort to hide it. However, it didn't worry me. For the first time in my life, I felt good about my life. I was living with my idol and working on my own comic book. That was everything I'd ever dreamed of. Gabriella and I were very similar and understood each other perfectly. We had a lot of inside jokes and could spend hours discussing our ideas. We spent every minute of the day together. My parents had never done that. However, Gabriella had a strained relationship with her own daughter. Nadine was as emotionless as a biscuit and had absolutely no imagination. One day, Gabriella and I decided to draw on the floor using ketchup. That pissed Nadine off. You're both nuts. Come back down to earth and do something useful around the house for once. What a bore. One day, I was walking to the studio when I saw Eric. I started walking faster, but he caught up to me. Selena, where have you been? Your parents are worried out of their minds. Come back to school. I left them a note. They know I'm fine. But why are you avoiding me? Let me think. Maybe because you gave my comic book to our classmates and told everyone about my crush. You could have just said you weren't interested instead of mocking me. No, you've got it all wrong. That day, someone pulled the comic book out of my backpack without my permission. I was so pissed when I found out it had fallen into the wrong hands. He turned red and explained why we couldn't become an item. I just don't like girls. You know what I mean? But I like you as a person, and I want to be your friend. Oh, so that was the reason. I felt relieved, and I came to the studio in a great mood. Unfortunately, Gabriella and Nadine were fighting when I walked in. What happened? Gabriella told me that her daughter had destroyed everything we'd been working on for so long. What? How dare she? It serves you right. You're such a great team. I'm sure you'll manage to draw a new comic soon enough. Congrats, Mom. You finally have the daughter you'd always dreamed of. I'm done with you. I finally realized why Nadine couldn't stand me. She was jealous of my relationship with Gabriella. Poor thing. I felt so sorry for her. Nadine, wait. I know how you feel. My parents didn't get me, and they only cared about my sister. I'm sorry that my presence made you feel unwanted. Then I turned to her mom and said that she shouldn't ignore her daughter just because they were different. You're a family. Nothing is more important than that. They were both moved to tears by my speech, so they hugged and asked each other for forgiveness. Not gonna lie, I teared up too. You're right, Selena. There really is nothing more important than family. Do you know what that means? It's time for me to make up with my parents? Exactly, baby. To be honest, I missed my parents and my sister, so I plucked up the courage and I went home. I thought my parents would scream until they were hoarse when they saw me, but they surprised me. Mom and Dad burst into tears and hugged me tight. Oh, Selena, our dear girl, we were worried sick. How could you run away like that? I felt like such a disappointment. I was a bad daughter and a terrible older sister. Charlotte even got sick because of me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we made you feel like a stranger in your own home. We should have supported you. Then, my parents said that Charlotte had a weak immune system. When the doctors examined her, they found out she had some sort of disease. It hadn't progressed far yet. Since we found out about it early, my sister could be completely cured. So it all worked out for the best. We were so stressed out that we said a lot of things we regret. Everything's going to be fine now. And you know what? This hairstyle suits you. You should keep working on your art. We won't stand in your way anymore. Soon, Charlotte came back from the camp and we became a big and friendly family. I went back to school. Eric might never become my boyfriend, but he is an amazing friend. Nadine thanked me for helping her break through to her mom. Eric and I became her friends, and now the three of us are helping Gabriella come up with ideas for her comics. My own comic is gonna be released soon. I'm talking about the girl from the rainbow. I'm really nervous, so please send me colorful hearts in the comments down below to support me.